this thing works. Is this thing on? Hey, Kurt, how are you, man? It's great to see you. Yeah, haven't done this for a while, for reasons. Yeah, then well, we'll cover all that stuff. But I've missed you guys. I've missed you a lot, and so well, here we are. A little Noodlin to head into it, and we'll just jump right in. I'm not going to try to make too big a deal out of it. We have let's see, a little bit of something going on here. So yeah, I want to try to give you just a quick overview. Let's see, what do we have here? Update health-wise. I think we got things slowed down a little bit, so obviously it's not going to go away. If you haven't heard already, got kind of hit with a unexpected, as they always are, unexpected neurological disorder. Ultimately, it took about 5 years to get a diagnosis: myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's a big mouthful. Essentially, it just it means that for whatever reason, the myelin sheath that surrounds the nerves have gotten thin, demyelinated a little bit, and it causes all kinds of problems. One of which gives me a big problem, is orthostatic intolerance. Which means you can't move around very much before you start getting ill, and just like you ran a marathon, but you can't recover, right? And that's even with just a little bit of effort. So then, of course, I struggle in my spirit, going, "Hey, isn't sloth one of the seven deadly?" And especially when I spend days and days and even weeks when I can't really get up out of bed without getting sick. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm making excuses for myself, or go, "Hey, could I have done more then, or whatever?" After months of just going crazy, I think I just hear Dad saying, "My grace is sufficient," and I'm just going to do the best I can as long as I can. We'll keep going with that. So, as I said before about this condition, again, it's neurological. It is progressive and irreversible. So I don't think we're going to get better than now, but we can try to, again, trying to slow it down. Lots of B complex vitamins, precursors to the myelin growth, trying to, make sure I eat healthy, lots of veggies and fruit, and that sort of stuff. So, but I haven't given up coffee because there's that. Okay, so anyway, that's the deal. What kind of does happen, and what you may notice, right, is because of this, every now and then I'll have like a brief little, I don't know if I want to call it a seizure, but a moment where I'll kind of check out for a little bit. And what makes it kind of difficult is, one of the things I found out that I have is with the memory thing, right, is I have been trying to describe it as though I was living in a bubble, like every day. And I would be aware and present during the day, but as things, go on, like the next day, it just didn't stick. And so it felt like it wasn't making a complete, wasn't making new memories. Although I did have exceptional memory if I go back and look at different things. Well, discovered a term for it. There's a name for it. Anterograde amnesia. And so after a certain neurological event, you have trouble making, going from short-term memory to, like, when you sleep, it's supposed to settle it in. It doesn't do that. So it also makes me feel real bad when I, make plans with somebody or say, "Hey, I'm going to call you at this time," or whatever, and it's 3 days in advance. And if I don't write it down, put it on every calendar, it's just, I forget, and then I feel bad. And, I don't like that. I don't like being like that. So anyway, prayers, just continue those prayers. I can absolutely always tell when I ask for prayer, and people do. I have found over my life that, when I pray for others, Dad answers quickly and with power. And with when I ask for myself, not always, so much. But it's not because it's not. I think it's not because he doesn't like me, right? I think he asks us to, share burdens, right? It's we share one another's burdens and pray for one another, so we don't get kind of locked in with ourselves. So I try to pray for as many people as need, all kinds of people. I try to usually get their permission, but I have a long prayer list. And one thing's for certain is that when my life starts to go in the toilet, first thing I do is reach for Dad, and he's always there. And it may not change the circumstances, but it certainly does change me, and that's usually enough. Oh, also, I can hear it, so I'm sure you can. Still try to deal with this teeth thing, right? I got dentures, but they don't stay in very well. I'm supposed to have implants. All kind of hassle and trouble there, and the periodontist left a big root in there, and so Anyway, it's a big deal there. So I haven't been able to wear them for quite a while. Hoping to get that all fixed up, but you never know. So if I sound weird, trouble with my S's and plosives and stuff, that's because I got no teethers. So, not complaining. Again, I'm just trying to do the thing here. Okay, so circumlocution, big word. Typically, we use it, to mean that we're talking around something, right? Or that somebody's trying to put a little sly on you, right? They're talking in circles, and that's typically what it means. But I have a little bit extra. Let's see if I can get that. Is that actually happening? Are they working? Those mics? I don't think so. Oh, there, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, just trying to. I had some ideas. So one of the things that I have been doing, right, as is the case when again things don't go particularly well, and I have a little choice but to be bedridden. Not like that. Get your mind out of the gutter. Anyway, it gives me an opportunity to think and catch up with a lot of stuff. Not all the thinking is great. One of the things, if you remember way back in the Wayback Machine, doing kind of the Awakening Project, and I gathered a bunch of information, and I had been working on that for a while until, again, things went crazy because I got some help with it, and we were doing some deep, interesting stuff. But one of the biggest things that stood out, I'll tell you, like the number one thing that everybody had in common when they began to reject the lies around them is that they had time to look at it. Right, so either loss of a job, loss of a spouse, loss of a situation. It's something that caused them to turn inward, or didn't. They had suddenly time on their hands to begin to look at things, and then it gives you a chance to ponder over things. And certainly one of the things that we see around us is that this new media age is specifically and explicitly designed to steal your attention. Right, such that very difficult for you to maintain a long attention span. That's me too. I'm not immune from that. Especially with the anterograde amnesia. I mean, whoa, even worse. But one of the things, and the title for tonight's little get together here, I'm not intending to talk in circles, but I do want to talk about circles. And I think it relates to a lot of things going on around us, right? And there's certainly no lack of things going on around us, right? We have all kinds of war, rumor of war, all the things J-Bro said in Matthew chapter 24. All those things are appearing. We have war, rumors of war, earthquakes, signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and the traveling stars and all kinds of things going on there. It would be I think anybody would be hard-pressed to look up at the sky and say that business as usual, certainly. They're making a big deal out of 3i Atlas and all this stuff, and I think one of the things hopefully we can all agree on is no matter what the narrative they're trying to feed us, we can pretty much tell you that they're lying. Right, we don't always know what the truth is, and they make it very difficult to tease out all the little bits and pieces of stuff that they've hidden, destroyed, misled. But it isn't that difficult once you kind of develop discernment to know when people are lying. And then, it becomes a little bit more effective if you can kind of find the bits and pieces where that become absent or apparent by their absence, right? Methinks the lady doth protest too much on some areas, or the Streisand effect. You can get that, or you can get, somebody telling a story, and it sounds, there's all kind of detail, but there's nothing really of substance, right? They miss the actual parts of it, and that's something I think most people, again, if you're here or if you're listening to me, you're probably aware that much of what we're told by most of the institutions around us is, at best faulty and likely made out of whole cloth. Right, and designed for a number of reasons, right? And one of the things that I have begun telling people recently, right? And they always go, well, of course you get that thing. Why would they lie? Well, why wouldn't they? Right? They have every motivation to lie. But so like, why do they put all this stuff out there? And again, I've come to a place where I think it seems apparent, at least to me, that the goal is not necessarily to make you believe any one particular narrative, right? Only to muddy the water so that nothing can be verified. and that anything that's close to the truth sounds crazy, right? They immediately like to throw that one in there. I think it's good practice, at least it is for me, not to get too married to an idea. I can certainly have take a swipe at some hypothesis, right, and some scenarios, and see what seems closest to me, right? But without the information, it becomes very difficult, right? If you don't have access to accurate information, it becomes increasingly difficult to find the deeper stuff. Although again, you can usually, find the source either has veracity or not, and I always caution people that whatever you hear in the mainstream news, although it's a temptation just to turn it 180 degrees around and say it's the opposite of that. Well, that would be kind of too easy, right? It gets close, so it's more like 154.5 degrees, a little off kilter, right? There's some truth in it, but again, even a drop of water, or even a drop of poison in a gallon of water is poison. So again, take it all with a grain of salt. Even what I say, right? I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I think that would be actually bad form, bad practice for me. I don't really want you to necessarily think like I think, because I think that might be scary for you. But what I do want is for you to think, right? And ask the hard questions, even of yourself. And I always kind of come to this place where, right, the more I know, the less I think I really understand, unless I trust that. And that's where I've come to. I have one of those personalities, right? INTJ, where I get physical discomfiture if the story doesn't make sense, right? I feel icky if the story, what I'm being told, doesn't make sense. And so you can imagine I've been ill my whole life, right? Because the stories don't make sense. But what's worse, I think, is the temptation to start to fill in the blanks, and you can lead yourself down all kinds of rabbit holes that can distract you, right, from the main thing. And again, I always encourage people to do research. Definitely don't ignore it. But going down rabbit holes for rabbit holes' sake, right? Again, my caution: you'll never get to the bottom of it, at least probably in this lifetime. But it's good. Know thy enemy, right? Get a sense of what's going on around you. I encourage that. But if you think you're going in and you're going to find the answer, right? I suggest that you're going to probably be deeply disappointed and very bitter at the end, because the longer you look at this stuff, by beholding, you become changed, and you can't really look at it without it altering you. And it is always, for me, a battle to touch grass afterwards and get that darkness out of me when I look at this stuff too long. Well, so let's talk about circles, right? Want to go into some circular ideas here, right? Not exactly circumlocation, but some ideas that have to do with circles. Now, again, if you've been here before and you know anything about me, that I'm a weirdo, right? I embrace the weirdness. Right, but that I view the world very differently than as described to us, although yet kind of an angular view. Having trouble talking, right? But the ideas that I have come up with are not probably new. I perhaps came up with them independently, but certainly preceding me: Walter Russell, the Universal One, Victor Schauberger, understanding copy nature, and certainly a lot of people prior to them. But when you come to it independently, I think we, if you pay attention and start looking at all the things and the way that they interact with each other and how everything is holistic and tied in together, right? And that it appears to me, again, I'm not trying to convince anybody, I'm just sharing with you, that it appears that we will live in what I would call like a fractal holographic universe. That is, that each is a part of the greater, each little bit is representative of the greater. You can find a shadow or a type of the greater in the small, and so it's holographic, and it's also fractal. The more you go down deep into it, the more there is there. The more you back out, the more there is there. So from the quantum level to the macro level, it is all interconnected. And I'll even push it a little further. I try to write something down and post it to Facebook, and of course it goes over like a wet fart in church, because it's difficult to find language that doesn't sound crazy when you're trying to describe, for example, what you see on the screen, right? That for me, my observation, my understanding is that matter is really it's harmonically entrained energy. sound, if you will, but I think it's the ether. It's more than just sound, light. It is the ether, and the creator spoke or even sang the world into existence, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and behold, it was good. Right? But light is also part of the electromagnetic spectrum, so we could say he right there, right, made that. Keep in mind that sound is not really in the electromagnetic spectrum. It rather is a perturbance within the media of air. It is a longitudinal pressure wave, right? So the entire electromagnetic spectra, right, which is why I can throw away light being a photon, right, both a particle and a wave. It's nonsense because it's on the electromagnetic spectrum, and we've known this for a very long time. So, at what point does, for example, a radio frequency suddenly put out a particle? Where does it become a particle? It doesn't. The only reason that we have a photon is because they needed a media through which you could get light in space, which is supposed to be, a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. And without a media, the ether, right? Without that, then it would have to propagate somehow, and so they say it's a particle. But it behaves as a wave, right? Okay. Anyway, again, one more line amongst the many. So I think again, what I see from what's around me, what I observe the Creator and everything around us, is that it is that matter is stable. It's a stable form of energy, right? Just as these Clandy figures right here demonstrate with sound. They self-organize. And this also explains a great deal having to do with, some of the language that we use. We've got the right vibe, right? I feel it, right? We get a sense about somebody. I think these are all accurate things that can be quantified. All right, so that's part one. Now let's move back to this, right? Watching things around, and I see there's an enormous amount of again, circles within our society and the way that they make us think. And I'm going to have to throw in here again another term, linguistic determinism. I've talked about it before. If you want to know more, look up Dr. Marshall McLuhan. Again, he went to the Jesuit school, so we know where he's coming from. But again, they do tell some of the truth. They right in plain sight, right? Linguistic determinism, essentially the premise is that your thought is limited to the language that you have to express it, and that various languages are better at some things than others. For example, German is a very precise language, and in fact, in many cases, instead of adding an adjective like we would to say, let's say, a red bowl, right? Then they just put it together. It's a red bowl. One word is very specific, right? So this is perfect language for, let's say, technical things. If you want to engineering, let's say. Whereas, let's go over to French. French is all about subtlety and innuendo. One of the famous phrases, "Je ne sais quoi." Right, it's the literally I don't know what. It's all implied. How you doing? Ça va, right? How is that? I go okay. And so you get it's a language of innuendo, right? So for a very long time, that France was known as for political intrigue, and French was the language of international law up until English replaced it. And English is kind of a mishmash put together, and I think it has a lot to do with spelling, right? That what we say can be, it has power, right? The power of life and death is in the tongue. All right. So back to circles, and again, I see that if I keep running down this path, it'll be forever. And I just want to plant this idea and let it sort of germinate with you for a while, because these are some of the things I've been thinking. Right, one of the things that certainly disturbs me is seeing. Man, I neglected to get a glass of water, and I'm so dehydrated. Hang on, just a moment. Thank you, baby. Mama's going to bring me something to drink. Okay, so again, circle. Keep in mind that a sphere, and the reason that they assigned the globe, right? It makes sense in that way until you look into it and you go, well, doesn't make what they're telling us doesn't make sense. But the idea that a globe, right, is the most efficient container, or the most efficient shape for an object to get it all in. So we naturally, just on the way we see, pi r square, no, pi r round, no, just kidding. All right, so yeah, we see these formulas, right? Phi, pi, sigma. We see all these, 1.618. We see the golden ratio. We see these within nature, Fibonacci sequence, and nature, that would be Dad's design. And we can certainly apply that, right, to the way that we see the world. For example, when we're talking about geometric stuff, right, and the shape of the world around us, one of the things that they've tried to obfuscate or steal, right, is the fact that while our eyes are round, globular, and just like a lens, it creates some distortion. And then you have, of course, your personal perception zone, right? And if it's limited to a specific length in each direction, well, what would you have? In a free space with no ground. Hang on a second. Yes, I see that. I don't want you to trip. Thank you so much, man. You're so kind. Thank you. Delicious. Fresh lemonade. Oh, that's good. Okay. Now you're going to see how quickly I lose my train of thought. It's a terrible thing. All right, so circle. So again, sphere. It's the most compact, right? So our eyes are circular. We have lens distortion, and again, a perception bubble that we live in. Again, if you were to look at it in an open space, it would be 360 degrees in all directions. But since it's called a half space because we usually are standing on something, right? So there's a hemisphere in front of you, and the hemisphere is not the hemisphere of the world or air quote globe, but the hemisphere, the half sphere that you see around you, making the edges, right? Away from you, right, the farthest edge, and then it'll describe an arc all the way to the farthest point that you can see in front of you, and then continuing an arc all the way to the left. If you want to understand it, just take your finger, point it straight out in front of you, right, and then move. If what is our arm? Take your right arm, point it straight out, right. Picture that as far as you can see, and then just move that to the right and go all the way out until it's to the right. As you see it arcs, okay. And then it would do the other way. Put your finger up and point it right in front of you to the left, and move it to the left in the natural motion, as long as you don't have bursitis. Move it over to the left, and you can see that it arcs. And you can do the same thing. Now point up, and you can see there's an arc. Right? So it describes an arc. That arc is a visual distortion, or it's a visual effect created by the way that we see. It is not a curvature of where we're standing. Just point that again. This is the way I see it. You can look at it any way you want to. I don't care. It doesn't bother me a bit. So again, my point is to get you to ask questions, and so I guess I should have said do some of that. But here's what I want to get to. Madeline and I have talked for we watch things around us, and one of the really weird things that occurred, especially during following the October 7th incident. I hate self-censoring, but you know what we're talking about. Okay, following that, there was about a 2-week period where the hard left NPCs, who are mad about everything, and they're were until that point making a big deal about counseling people for being phobes and ists and all that stuff. Once this happened, you suddenly see people who would have gone to the mattress. They would have taken you down had you even suggested anything about people from the Levant, and called you anti-Semitic, and screamed it that you were a Nazi. And yet, all of a sudden, as if on cue, about 10 days later, all of them wake up and go, "Free Palestine." Wait, what? Well, like Palestine? It's kind of, I don't know. It's an area, right? it's like Levant. There's no Levantians. Palestinians, not a thing. And you can get mad at me if you want to, but it is history, right? And that's one part of history I know pretty well because I've studied it. Um, uh, yeah, well, I can also tell you that many of the people who've lived there and called themselves Jews are in no way related, but that's a story for another day, right? The point being that it's as if they got the download, right? There's no time for them to um, make a rational determination or get enough information that they can make a logical choice, which was very clearly demonstrated by the fact that immediately when they're out there, for example, up here at University of Washington, going crazy and starting all kind of, mostly peaceful, otherwise known as violent riots, and they were asked, why are you protesting? Oh, for free Palestine and then genocide. Oh, genocide. Oh my, that sounds bad. Can you tell me about it? No, I got to educate myself better. None of them knew a thing. And again, it's not a surprise. And you could say I'm mocking them, but I mean, I don't really have to mock them. It's ridiculous. The point here being that it is as if their entire worldview changed in a moment, in a flash, right? Shocking to see. And then as things progress with any issue that comes up, right? There's no time for them to process it. It barely even gets into the news cycle, and suddenly they're all on the same page. It's shocking to see. And, even Madeline tries to stay kind of, a good distance from this stuff, just so it doesn't, because it's, creepy and gross. She's like, what is going on? It's shocking to see. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? And especially out in the world, it is as if they're getting the download. And I'm here to suggest that maybe that's not too far from the truth. And I take some more time at another occasion to demonstrate thoughts and show you some, again, slides and that sort of stuff, demonstrating that the DNA is an antenna. It is a perfectly designed multimodal lobe antenna for picking up numerous frequencies, and it goes perfectly in hand with all the energetic stuff that we see around the world. You can put it into ley lines, right? All the stuff that just been digging back into Tartaria and all the bells that they destroyed and what those bells are actually for and doing. It's mind-blowing again, and without running down all these crazy rabbit holes, because one of the things that I always want to be careful of with these things, and again, I've done myself probably no favors and lost some friends, I think, by my position on this, that right, the rabbit hole itself is not really the end of itself, right? It's, to me, it's simply to demonstrate that we've been lied to. And certainly it's curious and you want to know the history, but again, I find that trying to figure out the exact truth, impossible. It's curious and it's interesting, and it helps me know the way in which they sell the lie, right? But ultimately, and I've said this before, and this got me canceled, right? Is ultimately, if all these things that we look at have any, some truth to them, what we do know is that we are in a created world with a creator, right? And that the world around us is broken, and you basically have choices. You can either try to fight your way out, try to, be a real smart alchemist and go, dude, really? You think you're smarter than Sir Isaac Newton, who drove himself crazy trying to figure it out, right? That information it was given by demons. They know all kinds of stuff multidimensionally that we can't really quite understand. And so I know I won't say the smartest guy ever, but Newton certainly was a smart cookie and devoted most of his life to the alchemical stuff, right? Trying to figure it out. They're looking for, Philosopher's Stone, immortal life. Well, immortal life is the lie. And we'll get to that later in a different episode. Point being, right, all this stuff is that do you think you're going to go that way? You're going to try to figure it out on your own? You think you're going to be smart enough to outwit God, right, the Creator? Now, I got this, right? When He has a promise, and He said, hey, if you do it this way, it's not your fault that you got poisoned, right? But now that you know, it is your responsibility. And then you can do something. And again, the only thing that I know, right, to do about it is to accept the gift that he gave us. You got one shot. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Okay, I'm not trying to be preachy. I'm just saying this is my observation. I don't want to make anybody believe what I believe. I'm just, again, trying to show you the conclusion I've come to, right? And again, I kind of got kicked out, not a big surprise, right, by saying, hey, if all these things are true, right, that we live in a created world, isn't the best path to get in touch with the Creator, right? Explore that. That's, I don't know, seems like it to me, seems like that's rational. Okay, so the NPCs, right, they're doing this stuff, and so some of the things I think, right, is why they're broken, and I think I can help explain some of this, right? It has to, again, to do with the circles. So if you've, I'm sure you guys probably know of Maslow and his let's see here, sorry, yeah. So we have Maslow's. Usually it's presented in a pyramid, right? But it's a hierarchy of needs. And it basically postulates that the most basic needs must first be satisfied before you begin to think about the larger needs. In other words, in a physical sense, you must have, you're not caring about a Ferrari if you don't have any food. Huh? You want to get the food first, right? You're not even so worried about the food if you don't have air, right? If you can't breathe, that's the most important thing right then, right? So once that air is taken, then we need some water, right? Then we need some food, then some clothing, then perhaps some shelter, right? And then these things grow, and right. So then we have, we could look at this and say that our physical, right? Our physical needs come first. We got to get that. Oh dear, it says it's not. It says I'm lagging. Oh dear, is there an error? Did I die? Can you guys tell me? Am I dying? Stream health error poor. I hope I'm still going. Just let me know if I guess you wouldn't know if it stopped. I wouldn't know. Anyway, well, we'll keep going here and hope that it continues. All right, right as I get to the really good stuff. All right. So physical needs must be done first, and then we look for safety, like emotional safety. But notice that love is out here. What is this emotional safety? Acceptance. If we don't perceive that we are accepted, then we cannot receive the love because we don't trust. Right. So these hierarchical needs, right? So we need love, and then we look for a place, a being, right? A place to be. A belonging, right? And then we begin to look outward and we go, how can I help others? Okay, so super groovy with that. Okay, it looks like we're back, so I hope you didn't miss too much. All right, so now with that in mind, now we take a look at, and this is what I think helps hopefully explain some of the stuff around, because this is what I see, right, is the people who are behaving like they're crazed lunatics, and they're going to go out there and beat people up because you disagree with them. Well, it's not just that you disagree with them, right? It's that they think that their position is the only moral position. And again, I can relate this at some other time. It goes right back to that original sin, right? The tree of knowledge of good and evil. Not tree of knowledge, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? I judge. I'm God. And now it's up to me to decide what is good and evil. And so main character syndrome starts right there, right? So now I judge everybody. And of course, all the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes. So I'm perfect and y'all suck, including, right, we judge God. How could a loving God let little babies die of cancer? Well, you don't have all the information. I know that sounds terrible, but what if he saved that child from some much worse end? You don't know. Right, you don't know, and the only way to know, right, is to have all the information, which you cannot have. You are not God. The only one who has omniscience is God. He's the only one that knows. I've given this example numerous times, in in the Old Testament, and you got the Israelites and their Exodus. They're running away from Pharaoh. They're out there, and they come across a tribe. I can't remember. It's the Amalekites, one of those guys. Anyway, God, this is when Saul is king, and God tells Saul through the prophet Samuel, I want you to go kill every living thing, man, woman, child, beast, leave nothing, and burn it. Yeah, sure. Okay, so they get there, and then he finds that yeah, some of the women are hot. So take some of that, and cattle, yeah, sheep, that's worth something. We'll take that, and yeah. So they did that, and then Samuel shows up, and he wasn't supposed to start the battle until Samuel got there, but Saul thought he was in a good position. He's like, "Hey, God was with us. We beat the crap out of these mofo's." It's like, well, "What are you talking about? What's going on here? You were supposed to destroy every. Oh yeah, I kept that for. We're gonna do some sacrifice with that, and yeah, no. I mean, he was busted right away, and this is where." God tells Saul that he will no longer be king, and because he disobeyed, right? But still, I hear it with that story, right? People go, "Oh my, what kind of a God? Well, how do you figure he's a loving God? Kill every living thing, right?" But again, you don't know. Well, look, I could easily come up with scenarios like, "Oh, they were cannibals and they ate brains and they all had kudu." Right, and if they were allowed to go out, right, then and continue, they could have eventually absolutely destroyed the genetic pool of everyone. Oh, speaking of genetic pool, what if they were all genetically modified with Luciferian evil demon seed, right? The way they like the Nephilim. You don't want that stuff spreading around, right? So without the information, you can't really judge, right? And ultimately, this is what I've come to, is that even for myself, right? If I judge, I'm often right, but many times wrong. And when I'm wrong, boy, am I wrong, right? And certainly we all have this myopic view that we cannot really see ourselves. No matter how clearly we can see everything around us, it is simply impossible to see yourself clearly. That's why you have to have people that you trust. It's best to have an intimate partner, if you can, someone who loves you and can see those things and has permission to speak into that part of you, truth with love, right? Anyway, so these are the parts of ourselves, right? And so I think to a degree, I think everyone, now I could be wrong because again, all the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but I think everyone to a degree knows that we are at least a little bit messed up, right? A little imposter syndrome going on. We know that where the bodies are buried, and we usually think everybody'd say I'm a good person. I do more good than bad on the whole. Get your mind out of the gutter, not on the whole, but by and large, I do more good than bad. But that's not how this is measured. It is not. Even if you go with the Egyptian story, you go in there and you're weighing your heart versus a feather. Good luck. Right? What would it take? Extraordinary. Well, it's because again we're all broken. We come into this world broken and damaged, poisoned, and the only way out. There's only one solution. Guy said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody comes to the Father but by me." And anyone that tries to come any other way, alchemy, magic, Gnosticism, is a robber and thief. That's what Jabro said. I've come to trust him. Okay, so going back to this image I've been showing up here for a long time. So self, right? You're right in the middle. Can't avoid it. Nobody on earth is going to be any different. Main character syndrome, right there. Boom. Right? But now we have spheres of influence, and not just influence, the spheres of connectivity, right? So we have family, and then they put, country here. I would say no neighbors, right? You put your neighbors, and then I could put another, community, church, or if you go to school, coworkers, right? We have all those things, and then you get to kind of humanity, and then all vertebrates and all animals, right? And I just kind of rename this, and probably spend enough time on this, but I think you can see what I'm getting here, right? Is that what you find is that those people who are out there claiming that they're virtue signaling, right? That they're the social justice warriors, right? And they're going to make everything good for who? Okay, so they're in Portland or Seattle, or Dallas, Atlanta, wherever, New York, right? And University of Washington. I'm like, what? You're having a protest for what? What are you trying to do? Get attention? What do you think this is going to do? Right? Stop the war. Who runs that? Like, you think that the faculty has anything to do with that? You think the state has anything to do with it? You think our country? I mean, like, what do you think? What do you think this is going to do? I saw a gal the other day. She was so upset that because she started a hunger strike, and she made it about 7.5 days before she had to be taken to the hospital, and she was so upset that nobody even listened to her. The campus, the group, see, I can't even think now. The board there, they were aware of it. That's why they made a statement. Yeah, we're aware of it. And she was so upset. She just thought she was going to fix the world. Or like the Doom Goblin Greta Thunberg, right? We're going to bring aid. Now you're going to bring AIDS. So there wasn't a single thing you brought on that boat besides cameras and propaganda. Right? You didn't bring anything. You didn't do any good. In fact, you hurt your cause. Point here, right, is that you can look at these same people, and they are absolutely miserable wretches to everyone around them. And they skip all these things, right? Because, again, fundamentally, they know they're broken, right? So here they are right in the middle, self. But yet, right, family, no, they're going to cut their family and friends off because they can't associate with people who voted that way or who aren't on board with their crazy ideology. Oh, because I'm better than you, right? How can you be so such a hideous person? You're hateful. You're a Nazi because you don't agree with me. Even though they don't have a leg to stand. There's no philosophy there. I don't even have to get into it. I'm not trying to again upset anybody if different belief. I'm just going. This should be pretty clear, right? There's 4,500 years of evidence here, and most of the kids under 25 are only familiar with about 8 years worth of total propaganda, right? Yeah, that's like none of that stuff you think happened. But here's what they're trying to hit the cheat code, right? They think that they're good because they're skipping over, right? They're going to be bad to family, bad to their neighbors, bad to their town, right? Bad to everybody around. They hate their country, right? Because they love animals, right? They're PETA. Or right, for Gaza, right? They're all in for that because there's no sacrifice, right? It costs nothing. You see, if you're going to engage in relationship with your family, right? There's cost to that. It takes effort. It doesn't always go well, right? But it requires an investment. You have to do something, and there's accountability. You can see right away, right? With your neighbors, right? You can see right away how do you treat your neighbors. There's no question. See, part of the reason that they do this is because it's the only way that they can outwardly virtue signal, because they care about these big issues, right? And the bigger the issue and the least able they are to actually make any difference, they consider that the highest service, right? Because it's such a big idea. Got to save the planet, right? Climate change. Yeah. And clearly this is a problem, right? But part of the reason I tell you this, right, is not for you to make fun or mock or be mean to these people, right, but to help you understand, right, that even the weirdos, in a twisted way, something tells them, right, that they need to try to do some good. But clearly, they hate everyone around them because they're so much better. So, they go, these are the things like, again, Queers for Palestine, and yeah, we'll send you right over there and see how that works out. So, right, so it's the same kind of, we say we have self, just a little bit better, self, kin, social group, tribe, right? Whether that is, going to be your gang affiliation, right? Or your social justice group, right? And then we get, your own race, nation, religious group, right? Us versus them. And then all people. Right, and then they push out their animal life and all species on Earth and all ecosystems in the ocean. They really care about that stuff, right? We care about our space brothers. Couldn't give a shit about my neighbor across the street who's 90 years old and, she's been a widow for 30 years and the HOA is giving her a $50 fine every day because her lawn's not mowed. When you could go over there and do it for her. But, you don't, because you have to go put out a crappy picket sign and dress up in a fluffy bunny suit and go stand in front of an ISO facility thinking you're doing some good. Again, I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, right? But what I am trying to do is give you a sense of kind of what is happening around us, right? That all this circumlocution, all this going around, circle, 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 right? It's the same story with different players. All the words the stage, right? And we are merely players, performers, and portrayers, each another's audience, right? So, I guess to try to sort of bring it into a landing, what the occupiers of this world have done, and I'm not even, I don't even kind of, I don't want to say blame because I certainly have blame to carry, but the leaders of this world, as you are probably aware, are not politicians or even bankers. Right, those who lead this world, who run this world, are not from here. Right, interdimensional boogeymen, whatever you want to call it, but they're not from here, and they're not our friends, and they're, for our purposes, immortal. Right, which should be one of your clearest hints that somebody else is running things, because humans don't have the capacity. I mean, we have terrible attention spans, but we're also greedy, right? We want things for us. And so they have neither the capacity nor the discipline to push such a long-term plan that's continuous and without break, and without somebody taking it over themselves and doing what they want, right? Because they're all beholden. All of them are all beholden to the Dark Masters, but they make the deal. So they get power, money in this life, and it certainly does. I mean, again, I don't make this stuff up, right? I just watch what they do, and it wouldn't, it sounds crazy, but again, they wouldn't do it if they weren't getting something out of it. At some point, right, LARPing ends, and you see the wealthiest people in the world, which, by the way, is not, Elon Musk or Jeff Bozo. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And they keep trying to tell you, "Oh, richest man in the world! Oh, richest man in the world!" It's like, what are you kidding? The 13 families, they've been doing compound interest against every government for 1,000 years. Okay, sunshine. You think a guy's got $3 trillion and he's doing something? Get out. The people who run things print all they want. There's, type it in. Because that's how it works, right? But they themselves are misled, right? And that's the advantage that those who follow the way and the Creator, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? But against powers and principalities and the ruler, the prince of the air. How about that? Here. I had so many things I want to do, but I don't want to overload you, and probably overload me too. So I guess my commitment to you is I'll just have to do these more often. How about that? So far I'm doing pretty good. I can tell that I'm slowing down a little bit, but I'll try to take better notes next time to really draw more of these things together, because as I continue to watch, all the dominoes are in place, right? They got it all going right in order. So 3-Eye Atlas, right? Whether they break that one out or not, they're still getting you to ask. It's the Overton window. If it's not this time, which it really might be, then it's at least the Overton window, right? And it's both the idea of alien invasion and potentially getting hit by an asteroid or comet, right? They're going to play both those things, and it said so in Scripture. But we're going to, have to wait and see. Again, I'm not going to make a bunch of prognostications other than to say that I trust Dad, and he's got it all in hand, well in hand. And the best thing we can do is follow him, right? And be not deceived. That's what he said. Be not deceived. For this cause is send them a great delusion that they should believe a lie. And I think it's pretty easy if you're paying attention to see if the next lie is coming, right? So there we go. All right. I think I want to just bookmark it at that point. So that I can do this, which would be, I did say I do a Q&A, 6 of us here, 7, right? So if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. Happily to answer any questions you have. So if you missed it earlier, I'm not dead yet, right? Uh, the diagnosis, I have at least one of them, the primary one, myalgic encephalomyelitis, right? Good news is it doesn't kill you outright. Bad news is it doesn't kill you outright, right? So, yeah, I'll be, but from, miraculous healing kind of becoming more and more like a mushroom. So at least I'll be a fun guy. um, nah, I'm not looking forward to that. But again, I trust Dad, and hey, sooner I get out of here, don't threaten me with a good time. Not really. So, with that, if you got any questions or comments or whatever, happy to do that. Otherwise, if you like and would join me, I just maybe pray a little bit here. God, I miss you guys so much. Just even this little bit. You guys are in my heart. Also, shout out to today's sponsor, Be Flat Earth Farms. If you know, you know. Daryl Davis doing the Lord's work. All right. So I guess with no questions there or comments, again, I'll just I'm going to continue to pray for each of you, and again, I would ask you for your prayer, mostly that I think for my heart and for my sanity, right, that as I stay close to Dad, that I don't get too screwed up with the things that I cannot do, right? I feel like a sloth, and again, 7 deadly. I really I struggle with that. Go, man. So between that and certainly the health stuff for me and Madeline, right? It's just as you get older, that's just the way it is. And again, nearly every day, I have a friend or a friend of a friend or an acquaintance who is, the older you get, the more stuff that comes, and people are dealing with a lot worse, I would say, than what I'm dealing with. So I have no place to complain, right? Just, but I would like to serve to my capacity, and I feel like I'm not in this condition. But again, I'm not gonna. I'll just say again, though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him. So with that, just for all of us, we just say, Dad, thank you so much for loving us and for hearing us, and for the unbelievable sacrifice that you made to bring us back to you when we were rebellious. You loved us anyway, and you gave us an opportunity to be reconciled, and it's the most amazing experience I've ever had. I would ask that you be with all those who are here now live, and anyone who listens to this. Dad, just touch their heart, bring them peace, comfort, and joy, even in the world that we live in now. Bring them joy. I know that you have for me, and I love you for it. I would just beg that you come home soon. Not to relieve my angst or pain, but just to bring an end to the suffering. There's so much harm in this world, and it becomes so obvious what the enemy has done and why it had to be played out to the end to let everyone know forever. If you walk away from the light, you end up in darkness. It's not punitive. It's simply the natural result. Daddy, thank you so much for the beautiful people that I have met through this experience. And I'm so grateful for each of you. That's right, Joe. You do all things through Christ who strengthens, right? He is my rock and my fortress, my salvation. Again, though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him. I am married to that, right? I know that He's good, so I don't have to know all the details. I just know that he's good, and that is enough for me. I really miss doing the Freaky Freaks thing. I used to do that every morning at 4:20 on Rockfin. It was kind of what kept me going. But if you really want to get your mind blown, do a quick search for like Tartaria and Lost Bells, and look at the enormous number of bells, and then the weird stories that they tell. Yeah, that's frequency. I have some ideas about that. We'll do some speculation at a later time. But in the end, again, I just want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. And yeah, so it's only like an hour. I do the best I can. I'm just so glad that even a few people stop by to say hi. I love you, Dave and Kurt and. Let's see. Oh, Ground Extracts. How are you, man? I haven't seen you forever. Well, I haven't been here. And Joe, hey, it's great. Great seeing you. So we'll do it again. I'm hoping to like pick it up and do regular after the first of the year. Just so much stuff going on, like insurance change, doctor stuff. Got trying to get the disability stuff like worked out. I got the award, but it's like they're gonna try to take it all back. It's so dumb. But like, oh yeah, we get back pay, but the minute you get it, now you've got too much money, and then you get cut off. It's like, wait, what? what? But I owe all that money. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, I'll figure that out. So keep us in your prayer, and I'll keep you in mind. And until then, let's see. How about we do this one? Hopefully, if you're still here, Joe, we'll throw this in there. Hope you dig it. We'll throw in a little bit of that. And play that.